Welcome! Today we are looking at the respiratory system in mammals and other organisms. This is topic 10 in your SS2 biology series. This topic appears regularly in your examinations. Pay close attention. Let us begin. First, let me explain what respiration is. Respiration is the process by which organisms exchange gases with their environment. It involves taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. Oxygen is needed for cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is the process by which cells release energy from glucose. Carbon dioxide is a waste product of cellular respiration. Respiration occurs in two stages. External respiration is the exchange of gases between the organism and the environment. Internal respiration is the exchange of gases between the blood and the cells. Understanding respiration is essential for understanding how organisms obtain energy. Now, let me explain why respiration is important. Respiration is important for several reasons. First, it provides oxygen for cellular respiration. Oxygen is the final electron acceptor in the electron transport chain. Without oxygen, cellular respiration cannot occur. Second, it removes carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is toxic at high concentrations. It must be removed from the body. Third, it maintains pH balance. Carbon dioxide reacts with water to form carbonic acid. Regulating carbon dioxide levels helps maintain pH. Fourth, it supports metabolism. Respiration provides the oxygen needed for metabolic reactions. Fifth, it produces energy. Cellular respiration produces ATP. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. Now, let me explain the types of respiratory systems. There are several types. The first type is diffusion. Diffusion occurs in small organisms like amoeba and flatworms. Gases diffuse directly through the body surface. The second type is gills. Gills are found in fish and aquatic arthropods. They are thin, highly vascularized structures. They extract oxygen from water. The third type is tracheae. Tracheae are found in insects. They are a network of tubes. They deliver oxygen directly to cells. The fourth type is lungs. Lungs are found in mammals, birds, and reptiles. They are internal organs for gas exchange. Each type is adapted to the organism's environment. Now, let me explain respiration in unicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms like amoeba and Paramecium respire by diffusion. Oxygen diffuses directly across the cell membrane. Carbon dioxide diffuses out. This is possible because the organisms are small. They have a large surface area to volume ratio. Diffusion is sufficient for their needs. The cell membrane is thin. Gases can pass through easily. These organisms do not need specialized respiratory organs. Now let me explain respiration in fish. Fish respire using gills. Gills are located on either side of the head. They are covered by the operculum. Gills consist of gill filaments. Gill filaments have lamellae. Lamellae increase the surface area for gas exchange. Water enters through the mouth. It passes over the gills. Oxygen diffuses from water into the blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses from blood into water. This is a countercurrent exchange system. Blood flows in the opposite direction to water. This maintains a concentration gradient. It allows for efficient oxygen uptake. Fish extract about 80% of oxygen from water. Now, let me explain respiration in insects. Insects respire using tracheae. Tracheae are a network of tubes. They branch throughout the body. Air enters through spiracles. Spiracles are openings on the body surface. The tracheae divide into smaller tubes called tracheoles. Tracheoles reach individual cells. Oxygen diffuses from tracheoles to cells. Carbon dioxide diffuses from cells to tracheoles. This system delivers oxygen directly to cells. It does not rely on blood for gas transport. This is efficient for small organisms. Some insects have air sacs. Air sacs help ventilate the tracheal system. Now let me explain respiration in mammals. Mammals respire using lungs. The respiratory system consists of the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. Air enters through the nasal cavity. It is filtered, warmed, and moistened. It passes through the pharynx. The pharynx is the throat. It leads to the larynx. The larynx is the voice box. It contains the vocal cords. The trachea is the windpipe. It is reinforced with cartilage rings. The trachea divides into two bronchi. Each bronchus enters a lung. The bronchi divide into smaller bronchioles. Bronchiole in an alveoli. Alveoli are tiny air sacs. They are the sites of gas exchange. Alveoli have thin walls. They are surrounded by capillaries. Oxygen diffuses from alveoli to blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses from blood to alveoli. Now let me explain the structure of the lungs. The lungs are located in the thoracic cavity. They are protected by the rib cage. They are covered by the pleura. The pleura is a double membrane. It contains pleural fluid. This reduces friction during breathing. The left lung has 2 lobes. The right lung has 3 lobes. The lungs are made of spongy tissue. They contain millions of alveoli. Alveoli increase the surface area for gas exchange. The surface area of the lungs is about 70 square meters. This is about the size of a tennis court. The alveoli are adapted for gas exchange. They have thin walls. They are surrounded by capillaries. They are lined with surfactant. Surfactant prevents the alveoli from collapsing. Now let me explain the mechanism of breathing. Breathing is the process of moving air in and out of the lungs. It involves inspiration and expiration. Inspiration is breathing in. The diaphragm contracts, the diaphragm flattens, the intercostal muscles contract, the ribs move up and out. This increases the volume of the thoracic cavity. The pressure in the lungs decreases. Air flows into the lungs. Expiration is breathing out. The diaphragm relaxes. The diaphragm domes upward. The intercostal muscles relax. The ribs move down and in. This decreases the volume of the thoracic cavity. The pressure in the lungs increases. Air flows out of the lungs. This is called tidal breathing. Breathing is controlled by the respiratory centre in the brain. The respiratory centre responds to carbon dioxide levels. Now, let me explain gas exchange in the alveoli. Gas exchange occurs across the respiratory membrane. The respiratory membrane consists of the alveolar wall and the capillary wall. Oxygen diffuses from the alveoli into the blood. The partial pressure of oxygen is higher in the alveoli. It is lower in the blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the alveoli. The partial pressure of carbon dioxide is higher in the blood. It is lower in the alveoli. This is passive diffusion. It does not require energy. Oxygen binds to hemoglobin in red blood cells. Hemoglobin transports oxygen to the tissues. Carbon dioxide is transported in 3 ways: as dissolved gas, as carbaminohemoglobin, and as bicarbonate ions. Now let me explain transport of oxygen. Oxygen is transported by hemoglobin. Hemoglobin has a high affinity for oxygen. In the lungs, Oxygen binds to hemoglobin. This forms oxyhemoglobin. Oxyhemoglobin is bright red. In the tissues, oxygen is released. The release of oxygen is influenced by several factors. The Bohr effect is the effect of pH on oxygen binding. Low pH reduces hemoglobin's affinity for oxygen. This promotes oxygen release. The Haldane effect is the effect of oxygen on carbon dioxide binding. Deoxygenated hemoglobin has a higher affinity for carbon dioxide. This promotes carbon dioxide transport. Now, let me explain transport of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is transported in 3 ways. About 7% is dissolved in plasma. About 23% binds to hemoglobin. This forms carbaminohemoglobin. About 70% is transported as bicarbonate ions. Carbon dioxide reacts with water in red blood cells. This reaction is catalyzed by carbonic anhydrase. It produces carbonic acid. Carbonic acid dissociates into bicarbonate and hydrogen ions. Bicarbonate diffuse into plasma. They are transported to the lungs. In the lungs, the reaction is reversed. Carbonic acid dissociates into carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide is exhaled. Now, let me explain respiration in birds. Birds have a unique respiratory system. They have lungs and air sacs. Air sacs are extensions of the lungs. They are located in the body cavity. Birds have a unidirectional flow of air. Air flows through the lungs in one direction. This is more efficient than the bidirectional flow in mammals. Air enters through the trachea. It flows into the posterior air sacs. It then flows through the lungs. It then flows into the anterior air sacs. It then leaves the body. This system allows for continuous gas exchange. It is efficient for flight. Now let me explain respiration in amphibians. Amphibians, like frogs, have lungs and skin. They respire through both. The skin is moist and vascularized. Gases diffuse across the skin. This is called cutaneous respiration. The lungs are simple sacs. They have a small surface area. They are not as efficient as mammalian lungs. Amphibians also have gills in the larval stage. They lose them during metamorphosis. Respiration in amphibians is adapted to their dual life. They live in water and on land. Now, let me give you sample exam questions. Define respiration. Respiration is the process by which organisms exchange gases with their environment. Name the types of respiratory systems. Types include diffusion, gills, tracheae, and lungs. Describe the structure of the mammalian respiratory system. It consists of nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. Explain the mechanism of breathing. Breathing involves inspiration and expiration driven by diaphragm and intercostal muscles. Describe gas exchange in the alveoli. Oxygen diffuses from alveoli to blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses from blood to alveoli. Explain transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen is transported by hemoglobin. Carbon dioxide is transported as dissolved gas, carbaminohemoglobin, and bicarbonate ions. Let me summarise. Respiration is the exchange of gases. Organisms have different respiratory systems. Unicellular organisms use diffusion. Fish use gills. Insects use tracheae. Mammals use lungs. The mammalian respiratory system consists of the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. Breathing involves inspiration and expiration. Gas exchange occurs in the alveoli. Oxygen is transported by hemoglobin. Carbon dioxide is transported as dissolved gas, carbaminohemoglobin, and bicarbonate ions. Birds and amphibians have unique respiratory adaptations. Practice these concepts. Well done!